Hello everyone, good morning. I welcome you all for today's session. In today's session, we'll be solving a problem on beams with UDL, it is uniformly distributed loading. Right, so this is the second session on beams in which I am going to solve a problem on UDL. The previous problem was on cantilever beam. So let me start with the problem. I will listed the statement for you people. First we'll just go through that. A simply supported beam subjected to UDL is shown below. Determine the maximum deflection if Young's modulus is 200 GPa. Moment of inertia I is 2 into 10 raised to 6 mm raised to 4 and the length of the beam is 1 meter. Right, so this is the diagram what he has given to us in the problem. So my solution start with this step, that is drawing of element diagram. So I'll take this as node number 1, I'll take this as node number 2, right? I have taken it as node number 1 and 2. Fine. Now I have just treated this entire beam as a single element. I have not divided it into multiple elements. I have taken it as an individual element. So it is node number 1, node number 2. There are two possible vertical translations or deflections which I have shown as Q1 and Q2, and two possible rotations I have shown them as theta 1 and theta 2. Right, so that is the element diagram. So this should be the first step when you start the solution. Next, find the element stiffness matrix. Find the element stiffness matrix. Okay, so there is only one element. So let me write the general formula for stiffness matrix. K is equal to E into I divided by length of the element whole cube. So I have told you how to remember this. It is 12, 6, 6, 4. Once again 12, 6, 6, 4. Right, so these two sets remain same. After that you are having 12, 6, 6, 2, 12, 6, 6 and 2. Right? Okay. Now also you are having length of the element, length of the element, length of the element square, length of the element, length of the element, length of the element square, LE, LE, LE square, LE, LE, LE square. Right? Okay, fine. So I missed out the signs. I told you how to remember the signs. Third row, third column and third element, these are important for us. So for third row, here you are having minus, minus and minus, and for third column you are having minus, minus and minus. Right, so all the elements in the third row and third column should have a negative sign except the third element. Okay, that is your general form of stiffness matrix. Now I will go on substituting the values. So if you want K, E value is in GPa. Since the length of the element is in meters, let me take everything into meters. So it is 200 into 10 raised to 9 GPa. I have expressed it as 10 raised to 9 PA, that is pascals. Right? 1 pascal is 1 Newton per meter square into moment of inertia I is 2 into 10 raised to 6 mm raised to 4. So if you convert this into meter, so 1 mm is 10 raised to minus 3 meter. So raised to 4, if you just check out, it is 3 into 4 is minus 12. Minus 12 plus 6 is minus 6. So meter raised to 4. So I have converted mm raised to 4 into meter raised to 4. Right? So it is 2 into 10 raised to minus 6 divided by length of the element whole cube. Length of the element is 1 meter. I kept it as it is. If you just substitute the values of length of the element in the stiffness matrix, we'll be getting 12, 6, minus 12, 6, 6, 4, minus 6, 2, minus 12, minus 6, 12 and minus 6, 6, 2, minus 6 and 4. So these are the values what you get if you put the value of length of the element as 1 meter. Right? Now this entire simplification, this part, if you just simplify, it comes out to be 400 into 10 raised to 3. Right? So this simplification comes out to be 400 into 10 raised to 3. So this is your first step, which is finding of element stiffness matrix. Next, calculation of load vector, or you can also call it as force matrix. Both are one and same. Load vector or force matrix. Okay. Since it is UDL, uniformly distributed load, the force matrix for uniformly distributed load is given by P naught LE by 2, P naught LE square divided by 12, P naught LE by 2 minus P naught LE square divided by 12. Okay, so this is the general form of the load when it is expressed in UDL, where P naught is given as 12 kilonewton per meter. Right? So the value of P naught is given in the problem. So this is 12 kilonewton per meter. Now if you just substitute this here in this, what I will be getting here is P naught, since the load in the given problem is acting downwards, I should take it as negative. So P naught value is minus 12 into 10 raised to 3. Right? Kilonewton I have converted into Newton into length of the element. Length of the element is taken as 1 divided by 2. Next, P naught value is minus 12 into 10 raised to 3. Length of the element square is 1 divided by 12. Once again, P naught value is minus 12 into 10 raised to 3. Length of the element is 1 divided by 2. And at last, minus sign outside. It is in the general formulation itself. P naught is also negative, minus 12 into 10 raised to 3. Length of the element square is 1 divided by 12. Right? So that becomes your force matrix. So if you simplify, your force matrix will be 2 1 2 6. So it is minus 6 into 10 raised to 3 minus 10 raised to 3 minus 6 into 10 raised to 3 and 10 raised to 3. Right? So these are the values what I get after simplifying this particular matrix. So this is my force vector or force matrix, or some people call it as load vector. All are same. So first I have calculated the stiffness matrix, then I have calculated the load vector. Then in the next step, let us go for FEM formulation. So step number 3, from FEM formulation, we know that K into Q is equal to F, right? So K is known, F is known, Q is to be found out. So if I just write it here, the value of K is 400 into 10 raised to 3. So I can write it as 4 into 10 raised to 5. 4 into 10 raised to 5. And the values are 12, 6, 12, 6, minus 12, 6, 6, 4, minus 6, 2, minus 12, minus 6, 12, and minus 6, 6, 2, minus 6, and 4. Okay. While rewriting this matrix, please be careful, don't skip any of these signs. So once if you are done with K matrix, let me introduce Q matrix. So there are 2 vertical translations and 2 rotations possible. So I'll write it as Q1, theta 1, Q2 and theta 2. Force matrix, I have obtained force matrix as minus 6 into 10 raised to 3, 10 raised to 3 with a negative sign, once again minus 6 into 10 raised to 3, and at last you are having 10 raised to 3. Okay, this is the same matrix what I obtained in the previous step, right? So this is the same matrix what I have written in the FEM formulation. 3 terms are negative and the last one is positive. The same thing is taken here. 3 terms are negative and the last one is positive, right? Now applying boundary condition and using elimination method, we need to put Q1 and Q2 as 0. Okay, so these boundary conditions are important, how you decide these things. If you just look at the figure what he has given us, at the one end, that is at node 1, it is pinned. Okay, so this is pinned support, and on the other end, that is at node 2, it is a roller support, right? In roller support, vertical translation is restricted, so Q2 automatically becomes 0. It can move horizontally, but it cannot move in vertical direction, so Q2 is 0. In pinned support also, the vertical motion is restricted, so that is the reason Q1 is taken as 0. In both these cases, rotations are possible, so theta 1 and theta 2 values exist, right? So Q1 and Q2 should be taken as 0. So if you put those boundary conditions, Q1 and Q2 as 0, so we need to strike out the first column, first row, next you are having third row and third column are to be eliminated using the boundary condition and elimination method. As a result, you will be getting 2 equations with 2 unknowns. So those equations are 4 theta 1 plus 2 theta 2 is equal to minus 10 raised to 3 divided by 4 into 10 raised to 5. So it comes out to be 4 theta 1 plus 2 theta 2 is equal to, so 1 divided by 4 is 0.25, and you are having 10 raised to 3 divided by 10 raised to 5. So this you divide it by 4, you will be getting 2.5 into 10 raised to minus 3 with a negative sign. So it is minus 2.5 into 10 raised to minus 3. This I'll take it as equation 1. Similarly, I'll develop a second equation, 2 into theta 1 2 into theta 1 plus 4 into theta 2 will be equal to 10 raised to 3 divided by 4 into 10 raised to 5. Right, so this equation will be 2 theta 1 plus 4 theta 2 will be equal to, if you just check out these values and these values, both are same, only a sign is changed. So here it will be 2.5 into 10 raised to minus 3. This will be your equation number 2. So if you solve equation 1 and 2, solving equations 1 and 2, we get, so if we solve it, equation we are having two unknowns. So a1 is 4, a2 is 2, and c is minus 2.5 into 10 raised to minus 3, a2 is 2, b2 is 4, c2 is 2.5 into 10 raised to minus 3. Right, so one value you are getting it as minus 1.25 into 10 raised to minus 3. Second one, same value with a positive sign. Right, so theta 1 is minus 1.25 into 10 raised to minus 3, and theta 2 is 1.25 into 10 raised to minus 3. Both are expressed in radians. Right, so please don't forget to write the units. Both are expressed in radians. Right, so if we just go back to the problem statement, he has asked us to determine the maximum deflection. Right, since it is a simply supported beam subjected to UDL, okay, we should know that maximum deflection occurs at the center. So next step is to find out maximum deflection. Right, so this is a very important point which we should know. He has not mentioned it in the problem where the maximum deflection is going to occur. Right, so previously we have studied in our mechanics of materials that if it is a simply supported beam and if it is subjected to UDL, maximum deflection will always be at the center. Right, so maximum deflection will be at the center, and if I follow the natural coordinate system, at center zeta will be equal to 0. Right, since I am following natural coordinate system, at the center the value of zeta will be equal to 0, and at the extreme heights it will be plus 1 and minus 1. So as far as this problem is concerned, I am just interested in the deflection when zeta is equal to 0, because zeta will be equal to 0 at the center, and at the center deflection will be maximum. Right, so if I take the vertical deflection as y, I can write it as H matrix into Q matrix. Right, so further elaborating, H1, H2, H3 and H4. There are 4 Hermite shape functions. So H matrix I have written it as H1, H2, H3 and H4. Further Q matrix can be written as Q1 theta 1, Q2 theta 2. Right, now so y is equal to H1 Q1 plus H2 theta 1 plus H3 Q2 plus H4 into theta 2. Right, so that is the normal way of finding maximum deflection. Now here in this problem we know that Q1 and Q2 both are 0. Q1 is also 0 and Q2 is also 0. So this entire product automatically becomes 0. Right, so now we are left with only 2 terms. So the last step would be calculating maximum deflection. So if you want to calculate maximum deflection, we know that y is equal to h2 into theta 1 plus h4 into theta 2. Right, So how I have got this, I have already shown you. Right now I need to substitute the values of H2 and H4. Values of H2 and H4. So if you put the values of H2 and H4, H2 value is length of the element divided by 8, 1 minus zeta square plus zeta cube into theta 1. Value of theta 1 is minus 1.25 into 10 raised to minus 3, right? So it is minus 1.25 into 10 raised to minus 3 plus, this is the intermediate plus sign, H4 is given as length of the element divided by 8 minus 1 minus zeta plus zeta square plus zeta cube into theta 2. Value of theta 2 is 1.25 into 10 raised to minus 3, right? So these shape functions you need to remember, whatever we have derived it, all the 4 shape functions you should know. Now this value of y should be at zeta is equal to 0. Y at zeta is equal to 0. Okay, so this is because I told you already, deflection will be maximum at the center, and at the center the value of zeta is 0. So in this expression, whatever I have written, you put the value of zeta as 0. Length of the element should be substituted as 1 meter. Right, so if I do so, here I will be getting 1 by 8. So this is 0, 0 and 0 into minus 1.25 into 10 raised to minus 3 plus sign. Once again, length of the element is 1, so it is 1 by 8. Here you are getting minus 1. All other terms are 0, so this minus 1 multiplied by this, once again I will be getting minus 1.25 into 10 raised to minus 3. Right, so this minus 1 into this value is once again minus. So y is equal to, what you can do is 1 by 8 you can take it as common term, so it is minus 1.25 into 10 raised to minus 3, right? So plus into minus is once again minus 1.25 into 10 raised to minus 3. So the value what you will be getting here is having minus 1.25 into 10 raised to minus 3 minus 1.25 into 10 raised to minus 3. So that will be getting 2.5 into 10 raised to minus 3. You divide it by 8. So the value obtained is minus 3125 into 10 raised to minus 4. Minus 3.125 into 10 raised to minus 4 meters, or y is equal to, if you want to express this in mm, so this is in meter, 1 meter is 1000 mm, so multiply it by 1000, so I will be getting the value as minus 0.3125 mm, right? So this is the value of the maximum deflection for this particular case, right? So you are going to get it only if you are going to put these values correctly, right? If you are taking minus 1 here and plus 1 here, once again these values are going to change. So be careful, remember the shape functions correctly, substitute things correctly, then you will be getting the deflection as minus 0.3125 mm. Right, so that's it for today's session. Have a good day. Thank you.